Hello everyone and welcome back to part 9 of our F1 22 driver career mode here for Williams for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in Brazil. Last time out we had an amazing second place at the Dutch Grand Prix. If you haven't seen that, go check that out before you see this one. Heading into the round though, we have an announcement. Valtteri Bottas will be retiring from Formula 1 at the end of the season, so that will leave an empty seat to be filled by either another driver changing teams or possibly an F2 driver moving up the ranks. Heading into this round, we are still in 10th in the driver's standings, 3 points off of Ricciardo, and you can see we've bought some more upgrades. Williams is now a very firm mid-pack team. We are right in amongst all those other cars in the midfield, and now we head into the F1 sprint recap. For the starting grid, it was Leclerc and Perez on the front row, the two championship protagonists going head-to-head into turn 1, and it was ourselves and Albon in P11 and 12 there, just showcasing how much better this Williams is than it was at the start of the season, firmly in the mid-pack now, and it was an incredible launch off the line for myself in a very wet Brazilian sprint race here. We get ahead of Gasly immediately. We also get to the inside of Esteban Ocon to take P9 off of the Frenchman out of turn 2. Also heading in turn 4, we take advantage of the pack moving a bit slower than normal and head down the inside of Lando Norris, but that McLaren was a lot quicker than us in this sprint, as you can see here on lap 4, Lando sending it down the inside to reclaim that P8 and final point off of us. Heading into lap 7 though, it is the man that just announced retirement, Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo, having an engine failure here at turn 2, and he is out of the sprint and will be starting from the back of the grid. That caused a virtual safety car, which gave us a bit of a breather from Ocon, who is looking to take that P9 back off of us here as we head on to the final lap of the sprint. Ocon sends one to the inside of turn 1, and I haven't seen this before, but the AI just loses it. Ocon losing that rear end and just spinning completely on his own. He hit the side of our car. Luckily, we didn't get any major damage. We just had to run off the track there and cut turn 2. We got a warning for that, but luckily no penalty, and Ocon did end up losing out on even a P10 spot, but we do hold on to P9, no repercussions from that spin, and that gives us a really nice starting spot for the actual Sao Paulo Grand Prix. There you can see Perez ended up taking the win there in the F1 sprint, taking that position off of Leclerc and gaining himself a potentially very valuable point heading into the title fight. But yeah, let's head in to the grid rundown for the actual Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Lando Norris, Benjamin, Gasly, Tsunoda, Fernando Alonso, and Carlos Sainz. Stroll, Ricciardo, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Sebastian Vettel and Verstappen, they've taken a grid penalty. Magnussen, Albon, Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are lining up on the grid in P6 for another wet start here for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. A whole lot of penalties for people heading into this one, with Sainz, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Magnussen, Albon, Schumacher, Zhou and Ocon all taking some form of penalty, which moved us right up the field to be starting here in P6. Unfortunately, Albon taking that penalty. He could have been starting a bit further up. He did finish the sprint in 13th, which I thought was a pretty good position, but hopefully he just has the pace to move himself up. It'll be interesting to see how we're able to go here, because this Williams definitely doesn't feel the quickest in these conditions, as we've seen all throughout the season. In wet conditions we do struggle a little bit, but you know, we brought a couple more upgrades to this round, and our quali pace was really good in 11th and 12th for myself and Albon, so maybe some good points could be on the cards once again. We're just going to try and make the most of every opportunity and try and stick with some of these guys that are a bit quicker than us. But here we go for a very wet start. The 5 red lights are on, and they are off and we are away for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's once again a really good getaway. We jump Norris immediately here, possibly looking to the inside of even George Russell in the Mercedes, but I decide to back out of it there as I see him coming down across to hit the apex, and it's just going to have to be focusing on getting ahead of the McLaren, which we do around the outside of turn 2. That's us into P5. Leclerc has jumped Sergio Perez, if you look at the standings on the left-hand side there, which could be crucial for that championship fight. Up ahead, though, absolute chaos as they go 3 wide. The Mercedes attacking Sergio Perez in the Red Bull here. This is going to allow Leclerc to pull away as it's now Hamilton versus Perez through turns 5 there into the sweeper. Who's going to get ahead? It looks like Perez there, just with a bit of a better car package there, that Red Bull than the Mercedes. Gets himself into P2, but it's already 1.5 second gap back to Charles Leclerc, so Perez has some work to do if he wants to close in on his championship rival. Meanwhile, we just slot in to P5 here behind the 2 Mercedes and Perez. We've also got Norris just in behind us looking to gain that position back as we head to lap number 2 here. About to head on to lap number 3. Norris coming back at us just like in the sprint there. We were able to get ahead at the start, but that McLaren does just have the ultimate pace over us as we head down into turn 1. Into turn 2, we're going to try and hold the inside, but he just about able to hold the outside line there. He has the inside for turn 3, gets the move back on us. We're back down to P6, and we are under attack from Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri there as we just try and stick to that McLaren, get a bit of a slipstream down the straight. Unfortunately, not able to get close enough to go and make a counter move to get back into P5 there. And yeah, that is us just down P6, back to our starting position. So not too bad of a start to this Grand Prix for us. And yeah, obviously that McLaren of Lando is going to pull away from us massively. But as we now look to P5, it is a massive error there from Sergio Perez, who spins out of the last braking zone. And that could be absolutely catastrophic for his championship hopes. He has a nice gap ahead of Leclerc heading into this round, but he's now down to P8. Meanwhile, Leclerc leading the race by 6.5 seconds. That could be really bad for the Mexican there as he finds himself under attack from Yuki Tsunoda. He does hold on to P8, but up ahead, Lando not just diving on Russell, but also Hamilton going for the double overtake into turn 1. He gets the move done on Russell. Hamilton holds a position in P2, but that's Lando now finding himself in a podium position. Once again, under attack from Russell, though, as, yeah, he didn't get the greatest exit out of turn 2, and Russell now attacking into turn 4, and Lando, is he able to get the move? He locked up a bit there, ran it wide. Russell going for the cutback there. Very good move there from the young Brit on the other young Brit, as we now head into the sweeper. Russell trying to hold a move around the outside, but Lando holds position, holds P3 for now. Incredible stuff there from the McLaren. This actually gets ourselves back into this little battle, at least for now. These guys are a lot quicker than us, and they are going to pull away. But it's nice to at least be kept in it as these guys battle. Now looking through the order of the grid at the moment, on lap 8, it is Leclerc leading the way by 7.5 seconds over Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes in second place, who has a bit of a gap now over Lando Norris, who is still under attack from George Russell in P4. It's in ourselves still in P5. You can see it's just slowly falling back from those front guys. And we've managed to pull a little bit of a gap to Gasly as he looks to defend from Carlos Sainz. Perez in P8 just behind, trying to recover from that massive mistake he made on lap 5. And it's in Alonso in P9. The other Red Bull of Verstappen has made his way right through the field to get himself into P10, and then Albon also doing a decent job here to be in P13, where he finished the sprint round. Hopefully he can get himself closer or even into the points, but as we now look on lap 10, we are under attack from Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri heading down towards turn 1. He's almost completely ahead, but as we head down into the braking zone of turn 1, I just brake that little bit later. I'm going to try and hold the outside line, hold the inside line, but it's going to be the exact same as what happened with Norris. He's just able to hold it around the outside of turn 2. He'll have the inside for turn 3. I just don't quite have the grip that I need to hold it around the outside. I'm just about front wheel to his rear wheel here, so I'm going to try and keep it in here, brake as late as I dare into turn 4, hold the outside line, but we just don't have the grip for it. I'm right off onto the AstroTurf, and so I've lost out to Gasly. Here comes Sainz now, trying to take advantage of this and get around our outside. I'm going to dive up towards the inside, brake as late as I can, and we do hold it ahead of the Ferrari for now, and we're going to try our best to see if we can maybe get the move back on Pierre Gasly, but unfortunately, I just don't have the pace. You can see now on lap 14, Gasly is gone up the road 1.3 seconds, and Sainz is going to go to the inside of turn 4, and there's a little bit of contact between us. I have to swerve to the outside of the corner there to make sure I don't break my front wing, and that is the Ferrari through into P6. That's back down to P7, and at this point, I was really struggling on these tyres. You can see almost losing the rear there through turn 5, and Perez now all over the back of us And yeah, as I said, trying to make his way back through the field after that massive mistake. And just a lap later here, on lap 15, he's going to go to our outside. I tried to defend in the turn 4, but that Red Bull just has such a better package than we do. So much more aero, and that Red Bull engine, not too bad either. And so he's just able to quite easily get the move done on us here. You can see I try and hold the outside, but again, just don't have the grip for it. And I almost lose the car and end up in the wall. Luckily, being able to pull it together on the runoff there. And that unfortunately means not only have we lost out to Perez, but also Alonso and Verstappen as well. Now we go right down on the fringes of the points. So yeah, this has gone from looking like a really good potential race for us to be getting right up there, almost battling away with the podium guys, to now being right on the fringes of the points with Tsunoda just behind us in the AlphaTauri there. As we head on to lap 18 now, you can see those guys have really pulled away, 2.3 seconds up ahead. It's just under a second to Tsunoda behind. So luckily we've just about been able to hold on to that gap behind us for now, as we come into the pit lane for our one and only pit stop of the race. Hopefully we don't get held up in the pits here. You can see getting a perfect optimal turn-in point there. We're going to get it done, and we actually get a really nice pit stop there as we pull out, and I've actually gained a little bit of a gap on Ricciardo. Only 2.4 seconds stop time there is very, very good for us, and unfortunately we weren't able to gain any positions. No one else got really held up that badly. The gap to Alonso and Verstappen ahead stayed pretty much the same. We gained a little bit of a gap to the guys behind. You can see here on lap 21, the other half of the field coming into the pit lane, so it is now Tsunoda once again behind us, 1.5 seconds, so we gained about 0.6 of a second on the guys behind us, but unfortunately you can see the gap ahead has only grown by this point to 2.8 seconds to Alonso, and then it's like a further 2 seconds to the cars ahead of him. So yeah, we're in a bit of a completely clear dead no man's land at the moment, and we can only really spend the rest of this race trying to focus on closing in on that Alpine up ahead to potentially go from gaining 1 point to gaining 2 points in this Grand Prix. And we're going to go through a bit of an order check here on lap 21. It is Charles Leclerc leading the way by now 11.1 seconds. This is an absolutely dominant race for him. This is what he needs if he wants to try and close that gap to Perez and win this driver's title. Is Hamilton still in second by 4.5 seconds over his teammate Russell, who was able to jump Norris in the pit stop phase there. So Norris, maybe with a bit of a slow pit stop, maybe he got held up a little bit, but he has now dropped down to P4 behind Russell. It is then Sainz in P5, Gasly in P6. So Sainz was able to pass the AlphaTauri, who's now holding up both Red Bull. So interesting to see there's a bit of team orders coming into play here with the junior and senior Red Bull teams there. And it'll also be interesting to see if Verstappen sticks behind Perez to try and help his teammate in this drivers' championship fight. Obviously, Verstappen hasn't had the greatest season so far this season, and he'll be trying to get as good a result as possible. But he's also got to try and think about Perez fighting for the Drivers' World Championship. We sit in P10 still on the fringes of the points, and Albon still in P13. But it is a yellow flag here on lap 26, and it is the Alpine of Fernando Alonso retiring from the Grand Prix with an engine issue here. With still 10 laps to go. So that's a bit of a shame there for Alonso. Takes a bit of pressure off of us though, as it very nicely gives us an extra spot and an extra point. It also means that should the guys behind catch up, we've got a bit of a buffer as the Virtual safety car gets deployed there for the stricken Alpine. But you can see on lap 29, we're going to have a little look here. It was drying out a bit. It wasn't heavy rain anymore. It was definitely intermediate conditions. You can see almost every lap Leclerc setting a faster and faster lap, but it was so close to the end of the race that we were all just staying out on track and not coming in for the intermediate tyres, and I was really struggling in these conditions, whereas the AI just seemed to be getting quicker and quicker. So now we've lost that almost 2-second gap that we had to the cars behind, and Tsunoda going to attack us here with 2 laps to go around our outside of turn 4. You can see I'm just not able to get the traction that I need to hold off these guys. I just cannot get a hold of the rear of this car in these conditions, on these tyres, on this sort of, dampish track that we've got now. These tyres are definitely overkill, but it's not worth it to come into for the intermediate tyres, and none of the AI are doing it either. So we just got to try and fight to survive here, as we've got Tsunoda still going alongside us here. The AI just seeming to really enjoy these conditions, which is a complete polar opposite to myself. And yeah, this is just full defensive mode from myself now. We've been side by side with the AlphaTauri for pretty much an entire lap now. Is really just this one main straight, and it will have been an entire lap. You can see Tsunoda just able to get the traction out of that final corner there, and he is ahead, and we're not able to do to enable our ERS until halfway down the straight when we're not really turning anymore. Otherwise, I will just spin the car as we head into turn one. A small bit of contact between myself and Sonoda. We go to the inside. Sonoda turns into the side of us. We get some underbody damage. Sonoda has completely lost the front left end plate on his front wing there, as you can see, as he comes around our outside of turn three. It is left-handers, he'll be fine, but right-handers will really hurt now with that missing bit of aero. So I know this. I'm going to dive to the inside of turn 4. Ricardo follows us through. Albon also trying to take the opportunity to move up a spot into P11. Ourselves and Ricardo are completely clear of this battle now. Albon around the outside, though, through the right-hander. As I said, that'll be the sort of corner that Sonoda's weak through, and Albon, you can see demonstrating that, holding it around the outside of that very quick corner, and he gets himself into P11, but he's now really lost the opportunity to gain a spot off of myself and Ricardo, as we have now just sort of pulled away a little bit. Leclerc has won the race already. He was pretty much 2/3 of a lap ahead of us. He was just absolutely clear of anyone in this whole Grand Prix, and we just now have one more traction zone to hold, to get through here, to hold the position over our fellow Aussie Daniel Ricciardo. You can see really struggling to get on the power, not able to use any ARS yet until we're through here. Now we can enable it and be sure that we're not going to spin, and we are going to hold the position over Ricciardo. P9 at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and 2 extra points, very nice.
And that's the end of the race. See you in Parc Fermé.
A great race then, very much as we've come to expect, and a fantastic victory here at Interlagos. What do you think it was today, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So here we are now with the results for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Leclerc taking out the round with the 2nd place in the sprint, a win in the main Grand Prix, and also the fastest lap points to take almost the maximum amount of points. Instead, for Sergio Perez, though, 14 points, a massive loss for him in the driver's standings, as Leclerc will have massively closed up that gap. Ourselves, we finished in P10, scoring those 2 points in the Grand Prix. Albon, unfortunately, no points here this weekend, but 11th. Best of the rest, pretty much, in this weekend. You can see, looking at just the standalone race results, Leclerc 14.5 seconds almost. Absolutely destroyed everyone in this Grand Prix with that fastest lap as well. And for Perez, down in P7, really not ideal for him. And it was a P9 for ourselves, getting 2 points. But look at this, the driver standings, a single point separating Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez heading into the final round of the season. Leclerc now leading the way by that 1 point over Perez. And yeah, I cannot wait to see how that sorts itself out in Abu Dhabi. We sit in P10 still, 4 points off of Ricciardo. You know, it's possible to get that P9, but we're going to have to hope for some real luck for Ricciardo to not score any points, and for us to even just scrape a few in to get the points that we need, because 4 points is a lot for us still. Don't be fooled by those 37 points we got. We got that incredibly lucky 2nd place at the Dutch Grand Prix last time out to get pretty much half of the points that we have right now. In terms of the constructors, no one changed spots. AlphaTauri is closed right up to us, only 1 point off of us heading into the final round. So we're going to be fighting to hold on to that P6. Meanwhile, Ferrari haven't completely wrapped up, 100% sealed the deal on the constructors, but Red Bull are going to have to pull an absolute miracle to win the championship and pull that away from Ferrari. But that is all, guys. One round to go. If you guys are looking forward to it and have enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.